We all want an AI that's not just smart, but one we can actually trust, right? So how do we stop it from just making things up? Well, we're about to dive into two really powerful ideas, RAG and MCP, that are built to do exactly that.
Right? I mean, we've all seen stuff like this. An AI with all the confidence in the world says something that is just completely hilariously wrong. This has a name. It's called hallucination. And honestly, it's one of the biggest hurdles we have to clear to make AI truly trustworthy. So, what's the fix?
So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll get into why AI even hallucinates in the first place. Then, we'll look at the fix, this open book upgrade, and I'll walk you through the 5-step process that makes it all click. After that, we'll see why this makes AI so much smarter. And finally, what this all means for the future of, well, knowing things.
All right, so let's get right into it. Why do these incredibly smart tools sometimes just invent facts out of thin air? It's a really deep question, and it all comes down to the way they're built to think. The key phrase here really is that last part, with complete confidence. See, the AI doesn't know it's lying to you. It's just a prediction machine trying to figure out the most likely next word based on all the data it was trained on. So if that data is a little spotty or confusing on a topic, it can still predict a sentence that sounds totally plausible, but is completely false.
So how in the world do we fix that? Well, that's where this huge upgrade in how AI works comes in. We're basically shifting from an AI that has to rely on its own kind of flawed memory to one that can actually look up the verified facts before it even tries to give you an answer.
And this, right here, is the magic word, RAG. It stands for Retrieval-Augmented Generation. Let's just unpack that really quick. Retrieval is just a fancy way of saying it finds the right information. Augmented means it adds that info to your original question. And generation is what it's always done, creating the answer. But now it's based on this new fact-checked context.
Honestly, the absolute best way to think about this is a school test. A normal AI is like a student trying to take a test from memory alone, a closed-book test. They might forget a key detail or mix something up. But an AI with RAG, that's like a student who gets to bring the textbook to the test. They can just open it up and find the right answer. The difference in reliability is just massive.
So let's put it side by side. On the left, you've got the old way. Closed book, totally reliant on its internal memory, and yeah, it can invent stuff. And on the right, you have the new RAG-powered way. Open book, using real-time external knowledge and built from the ground up to verify information. It is a total game changer.
Okay, so how does this actually work under the hood? It's a pretty clever 5-step process that uses RAG and then partners it with another key idea called MCP, which is like its final quality inspector.
And here's the roadmap for that process. It all kicks off with your question. Then it goes to find the facts, adds them to your question, generates the answer, and then that all-important final check. Let's go through them one by one.
Step 1 is super simple. It's the trigger for this whole thing. You just ask a question. For this explainer, let's just use the example, what are the benefits of RAG? That simple prompt is what kicks off this entire fact-checking machine.
Okay, next up, retrieval. Instead of just diving into its own memory banks, the AI acts like a super fast research assistant. It goes out and searches a specific trusted source of information, like a company's private documents or a vetted library of facts, to pull out the exact pieces of info that relate to your question.
This is where the augmented part of RAG really happens. The system takes your original question and literally smashes it together with the facts it just found. What you get is this new, supercharged prompt that basically tells the AI, hey, using only these specific facts I'm giving you right now, answer this question. So now, the AI's language model finally gets to do its thing and write an answer. But here's the key. Instead of pulling from its entire, messy, vast training data, its main source is that clean, fact-filled prompt we just built. This grounds the answer in actual data, which makes it way, way less likely to make something up.
And finally, we get to the crucial last step, quality control. This is where something called MCP comes in, which stands for Meeting Conditions of Prompt. You can think of it like a final inspector on an assembly line. It's often another AI model that double-checks the generated answer against the original facts to make sure everything is accurate and that it actually answers your original question. It's the system's own built-in fact-checker.
Okay, so we've gone through 5 steps, a couple of acronyms, but what's the big deal? Why does this whole process really matter? What's the actual payoff here?
Well, the payoff is this, a massive, dramatic leap in accuracy.
Without a system like RAG, an AI's answers can be a total roll of the dice. But the moment you ground it in verified facts using this process, that accuracy just skyrockets. You're basically moving from a system that guesses to a system that knows.
And that accuracy, well, it changes everything. It builds trust. It means the AI can use up-to-the-second information, not just data that's months or years old. And all of that leads to a much more useful AI, one that you can actually rely on as a tool.
So this brings us to one last, bigger thought. This kind of technology, it's more than just a quick fix for a chatbot. It really starts to point toward a huge shift in our relationship with information itself.
So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. If a machine can instantly find, understand, and verify pretty much any piece of human knowledge, does that change what it means for us to know something? What's the value of the stuff we keep in our own heads when we have a nearly perfect artificial memory at our fingertips? It's a big question, and definitely one worth thinking about. Thanks for tuning into this explainer.